everybody. Welcome back to Roar of the Lions. This is Karen and Hope today. And today we're going to be speaking about empathy like Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what does that mean?
First, can we start off with the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Yes.
Because I actually don't know it.
Yeah, so I watched this awesome video. You can find it on YouTube. It's Brene Brown, and she talks about the difference between sympathy and empathy. So in sympathy, it's like you see someone down in the hole, down in the dumps, and you're like out of the hole and you're looking at them and you're like, oh, like that sucks. I'm sorry you're going through that. But you're like, but at least you have light, or at least you didn't break a leg or something. Like you kind of separate yourself from the situation with sympathy. So you can be like, oh, I see that you're having a hard time, but that's your stuff.
Oh, okay.
This is me outside of the hole telling you, well, at least.
Oh, okay.
And that's what she highlights on a lot. Because a lot of times we'll talk to someone and they're telling us their story, and sometimes we can go, well, at least this didn't happen.
Yeah.
Completely invalidates them.
Oh.
Like it's not something you want to do. So I try to keep track of that in myself because it's such a habit.
I've done that so many times.
Yeah, it's such a habit. So I'm like, it is, but it does really invalidate someone. Like think about when you talk to someone and they just went, oh, well, at least this, like, at least there's good to it. And you're kind of just like, I just want to feel bad right now.
Yeah, okay.
Or I want you to acknowledge how bad it is.
Okay.
Sometimes. And my sister is like that a lot. And sometimes I just want to fix it. And she's like, I just need someone to listen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Anyway, empathy, though, is you going down into the hole with them and sitting there and being like, that is terrible. And I'm so sorry that you did that. And you almost mourn with them. You're not there to give advice. You're not there to fix anything. Right. You're just there to be with them and show them that you support them. And that sometimes is all we can do, because a lot of times, for me anyway, I'm a fixer. I'm like, let me find what I can pull out of my hat and see what I can do to give you advice or to help, and people don't want that all the time.
Yeah, some people just want to be listened to.
Yeah, my sister, she just wants to be listened to. And I'm like, oh, so I have to I have to shut my mouth because I so badly want to fix it, and it's like that's not the thing all the time. And when we're talking about empathy like Jesus, what I think about is when Lazarus had died and his sisters had been calling Jesus for days to come and heal him before he had even died. Then he passed away, and what did Jesus do?
He wept with them.
He wept with them. So he went and sat with them, and before he healed him, he wept with them. He cried. And I'm like, that is the ultimate act of empathy, is you just sit with them and you just mourn with them. Like he knew that he was going to heal him, and he still cried with them because it wasn't that he was sad that Lazarus was just dead and he couldn't come back to life. He knew that he could bring him back to life, but he felt bad. Like he empathized with them. He felt compassion towards them. I think it said that he felt compassion towards them and then wept. I think so.
I know there's this one Bible verse that talks about mourning with those who mourn, and when someone else is joyful, be joyful with them too. And I think that that's so important too. So God is emphasizing, hey, be there with that person, you know? So, don't just sympathize, but actually have that empathy with that person. And I think that's so important for us Christians to do, you know? I think that there's this also in this verse, I don't have my phone with me, but there's this one verse I read right before coming in the morning, and it did talk about how, I think it was Jesus speaking, or someone speaking about Jesus, about how, we are with a God who empathizes and stuff. And I think it's good to hear that, you know, because they say we praise a high God who empathizes with us. And that's so important to know, because sometimes it's hard for me, because I'm like, oh, I'm just a sinner and stuff like that. And it's hard for me to believe that even when I'm in the down in a hole or something, God is there with me, because I'm only thinking, oh, God's there when I'm doing good, but that's not true, you know. It's a bad image of that's not who God is. You know? Yeah.
And I think furthermore, on that point,
Yeah.
it's like God isn't sympathizing with us.
Yeah.
He's not up in heaven looking down and being like, oh,
Yeah.
so sorry
Yeah.
you're going through that. Get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
He's not saying that.
He's not.
He's empathizing with us and going, I feel what you're feeling.
Mhm.
And it's like, that is so crazy to think about, to be like, wow, he
Yeah.
actually feels for us.
Yeah. I think a few years ago I was studying about like the Egyptian gods and stuff, and those gods are kind of like that's the people and this is the god. Like he wouldn't
Yeah.
touch them. Like they're not involved in, like the gods are not really involved with the
Mhm.
humans or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like worship them and bring them sacrifices. That's it, you know.
Right.
And so I kind of like I see that so much being portrayed in a lot of movies that we watch,
And
you
in
know?
lots of other religions
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. So then it's hard to believe that our God is completely different. Like he doesn't think like that,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a good reminder to remember like that's not who God is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it is also hard, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I can't think that, oh, a loving God is like also powerful God would come down and like be with or with me.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really hard to wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
So I guess the next question is, how do we gain empathy? Because
Yeah.
I find it hard to empathize with people sometimes. I'll be like,
Yeah.
wow, I really just can't
I mean,
put myself in your shoes.
I don't even
want
know
to.
where to start with that. Like, what do you think? I don't even.
Hmm. Yeah.
I feel like such a bad person because I can't even think of one thing.
No, that's okay.
I feel like I'm so used to people sympathizing with me that it's kind of hard to think of a way to actually, because every time, like when I want someone to listen to me, it's more like, get up. It's,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, so in the field of work that I'm going into,
yeah,
empathy is like a major factor
It's
in
big
having
time.
compassion.
right.
So my field is psychology, in case this is new to you.
yeah.
But a lot of times I honestly just have to pray and say, God, show me people through your eyes.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I know that he empathizes with people and he's the God of the heart. So he sees through us and he can do things that I can't do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of times I pray that I just get empathy for people
Yeah.
and that I can see them how God sees them.
Yeah.
And as well, like, empathy is learned. And I think that a
Mm.
lot of times we don't realize that. And I had watched a really interesting video. It was very traumatizing, actually, because it was
Yeah.
about child predators. But
Okay.
it showed that they can actually change by being taught empathy. And it
Wow.
was, like, so, like, thought-provoking and
Yeah.
being like, they can change just by learning empathy, and it can be learned.
Yeah.
And I think that what I've done personally to gain empathy is I watch shows where it's going to be like heart-wrenching, or I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll watch shows about people who are different than me because,
Yeah.
or I'll listen to stories about people who are different than me. Because if I'm stuck in just looking at people who are white, female,
yeah.
middle class,
Yeah.
Christian, then I am not going to have empathy for people who aren't the same as me.
Oh, that's true. Okay, well, if we're talking about in that like realm or something,
Mm.
then or that level, then I do empathize, because then there's a lot of people that I try to like, especially when I have debates with someone or something about a certain subject. It doesn't have to be about God or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
anything. I can come into disagreement with something and I speak my mind, but then I also try to understand where they're coming from and put myself
Yeah.
in their shoes. And when you do that, you gain a lot of empathy for that person. It's just like it's kind of like I take myself out of, or I think of when I was in their position or something,
Yeah.
you know, or if I were in their position, how would I react, you know, or have I been in similar situation, something like that. And I think that helps me gain a lot of empathy
Yeah.
for that person.
No, totally. When
Yeah.
you relate yourself to the situation,
Yeah.
then you can see it more in an empathetic view, because
Yeah.
you're now thinking about, like, honestly, we think about ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So it actually is helpful to put yourself in that position and be like, how would I want people to treat me if I was in this situation?
True.
But we also have to realize that people don't want what you want sometimes.
Yeah.
I want people to fix it. My sister wants someone to listen.
listen
So
to.
you do have to consider that.
Yeah,
But
like-
I think that's
good.
Yeah.
Empathy like Jesus, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. So if you guys want to watch more of our videos, please go to roarofthelion@edmonton.com. Yeah, and I think we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
Okay, see you.